Hi, I'm David Mercer, CEO of LMAX Group. I'm joined here today by Jason and Manny from GB Wheelchair Rugby. I'll leave it to these gentlemen to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Jason, the CEO of Great Britain Wheelchair Rugby. I've been in the post for the last 3 years and we're at a really exciting time for wheelchair rugby and really looking forward to going on this journey with LMAX.
I'm Andy Semi, three-time Paralympian wheelchair rugby. I guess I've been in the sport for about 24 years now. Retired from sport in 2016. I'm now the partnership lead for the organisation.
So Manny, look, we've been involved a little bit with GB Wheelchair Rugby over the years, but it might be good for everyone else to have a better understanding of what it is that happens and what the game's all about.
Yeah, wheelchair rugby is a really exciting sport. It's been around since, I guess, 98. It was debuted at the Atlanta Paralympics. It was originally designed in the 70s by a bunch of tetraplegics who basically couldn't play basketball because they weren't able enough. So their disabilities didn't allow them to compete competitively. And that's where the name sort of murder ball came across in the originals, yeah. So the game grew from there, from Canada, and it made its debut at the Paralympics in 2000. So to put it into context, the sport's played with a volleyball. So my hands aren't great in terms of my function, so it allows me to pass and catch a lot easier than a rugby ball. And the idea is to cross the half and score a try by having the ball in your lap and getting two wheels over the line. It gets a bit more complex in terms of rules. So it's full chair contact. So no physical contact, but you're allowed to smash the person with the ball.
We've seen that.
I think that's what makes it so exciting as well, because people have these perceptions around disability and what people can and can't do. And when you see the sport for the first time, when you see two people smashing wheelchairs, it's just like, this is not supposed to be happening.
For sure.
But that's what's exciting about the sport. When you see somebody do that and actually enjoy it, and you're encouraged to do that, it's sort of breaking down all those barriers around perceptions of disability. And that's what I love about it. You know, it's really, really powerful. But the sport's really exciting now. It's growing across the world. So in terms of some of the rules of the game, so 2 teams of 4. I won't get into classification just yet. It's a little bit more complex, but the idea is you have 12 seconds to break the half. So the team inbounds the ball from the baseline. They get across the half in 12, and they have 40 seconds to score a try. So a lot of time-based pressure, and then obviously the other team trying to smash you out and get the ball off you as well. Yeah,
it's a fun game to watch. We'll all agree with that. So, and Jason, I think you're going to tell us a little bit about what 28 for 28 means and how important it is to GB Wheelchair Rugby.
Yeah, sure. So 28 for 28 is our new fundraising strategy, ultimately, which is about trying to bring together 28 partners to help us transform the sport on the road to the LA 2028 Paralympics. And really, what makes this initiative different is that it's about pooling all the resources of those 28 partners together. So really, we're creating a group of people coming together to really support the growth of the sport in, I suppose, a non-conventional way outside the kind of usual kind of sponsorship and partnership elements. So we're really excited for that. We're about a third of the way there now as well, and I say great to have LMAX on board. But it's also an opportunity for us to work with those partners to support their employee engagement around disability awareness. Because we know, for example, there's a lot of ED&I programs out there, but a lot of them don't include disability. So for us, it's so important to help change perceptions of disability and really get to a point where disability is viewed as a form of diversity and not as a deficit.
Absolutely. Sounds fantastic. And by the way, if you're watching this, only a third of the way through, we have still got spaces to fill. Thanks, Jason. So our involvement maybe started 6 years ago. I'm fortunate that our chairman is also the chair of GB Wheelchair Rugby. So we started to understand this sport a little bit. I happen to be a sports nut. I guess I'm probably a rugby nut. And then suddenly you see this wheelchair rugby thing happening, or murder ball, as many explained in the first place. And you go, wow. I mean, this is proper sport. Almost, certainly I think elite level sport. And I think those of us watching sort of wince when you see them bouncing into each other. So for us, if you look at LMAX Group, we talk a lot about DEI. We talk a lot about creating positive change in the world. So this exactly fits into everything we're trying to achieve in the world. We're trying to make a dent in capital markets. We're trying to change capital markets. But more importantly, I think we're trying to be positive change in the world. And I think if you watch the likes of Manny, he used to play a bit, by the way. If you watch the likes of Manny playing, you're saying there's no greater empowerment and inclusivity than by watching GB Wheelchair Rugby. So guys, we've heard a little bit already about 28 for 28. Obviously LMAX Group's very proud to be associated with you both. But how important generally, Manny, are, and Jason ultimately, but how important are partnerships to you and your association?
Yeah, I think they're huge. I think the sports, 2012 was really big for wheelchair rugby and in sport in general with disability sport, because it really brought disability sport into the public eye. And that was huge. I mean, like, I was lucky enough to be involved in London 2012, but it was phenomenal. Knowing that every person in that crowd, you know, they were cheering for us, it was phenomenal. It really was. And I think the way the sport grew from that point was exponential. It was unreal. And to try and support the growth of the sport, we needed more resources. And it's like looking outside your normal sort of channels. And for us, you know, the traditional sponsorship sort of models were difficult to carry on with, especially with the markets that they are at the moment and the way the world is. So I think partnerships allow us to look at the light in a different way, to pull resources together, to bring people who have the same values together to support the growth of the sport. And I think that was the key thing. And I think for us, the important part with everything is to give back as well. Partnerships work two ways. So the whole piece on trying to get more disability awareness out into your workforce, to your employees, you know, sport's a great vehicle for that. Mm-hmm. It allows people to relate to competition. And I think with any sport, you have a team A and team B, you pick a side and you enjoy the sport. But what this does, it gives you the opportunity to engage with people with disabilities, to hear their stories, to hear, you know, the resilience that goes through being an athlete with a disability, because it's no different to being an able-bodied athlete. I think once you start to pair that up with a partnership, you know, we have the platform to share that with your employees, to share those stories, to engage more fans. And that allows us to grow the sport within your organisation and your wider network as well. So it's huge for us.
Great. Jason, anything to add on that?
Well, I mean, one of our main objectives really is to be able to change perceptions of disability. And as a sport that is mixed gender, with men and women playing on the same court at the same time, we're the only full contact wheelchair sport. And with such a broad range of disabilities, you know, you've got spinal injuries right up to amputees, cerebral palsy. We've got an incredible platform to really positively impact those perceptions of disability. And when we partner with organizations and other companies, we're able to amplify our message more. And we're able to educate people and we're able to provide awareness. So the more partnerships we have, the more people that can learn about this incredible sport and the bigger impact we can have.
Yeah, so guys, look, I think you make a really good point there about partnership. And as I say, I reiterate how great it is to be partners with you. But a few points in there I take away. This is a real sport, right? And it's important that we show people, you know, parasport was available, right? And it's elite level. You want to see these guys train, never mind just play, right? Manny was talking earlier about, you know, you had to stop because you had, you know, a family and time commitments, but that shows you the time commitment you put into that sport. And I think from the partnership perspective, and I see it here at LMAX, we get so much engagement from our staff when we're involved with the likes of GB Wheelchair Rugby, and I encourage other corporates to do the same. So you don't always get that engagement with other CSR activities. And more, that's what the modern generation of employee is expecting, right? They're expecting that engagement. And I think also we preach a lot about DEI, particularly inclusivity, but showing that through these partnerships that we really can be inclusive, right, across the whole breadth of society.
And what's really important as well is Paralympic sport is 24/7. Right? A lot of people only get involved in Paralympic sport in terms of watching it during the Paralympics. So we've got a thriving grassroots population, and that feeds the elite. So if we don't have strong clubs and strong membership at the grassroots, there is nothing for the elite. So initiatives like 28 for 28 ensure that we're able to continue breaking down some of these barriers. We can try and reduce costs to ensure that everybody that's able to play the sport can access it. So for us, you know, elite is what people see, but the grassroots is really the foundation of the sport, and actually probably any elite sport.
Yeah, I think the important thing to remember with this sport is it's And I always say this, and it's like, it sounds a little bit corny, but it's got the power to change lives. And the only reason I say that is because it changed mine. And to share a bit more about that, I was injured at the age of 19. I had a car accident, and at 19 you think you're invincible. The world's your oyster, everything's lined up for you, and then all of a sudden, in a split second, I found myself in a hospital bed, not knowing what was going on. Turns out I had a spinal cord injury, so obviously devastated with the whole situation. And your family and friends get around you and try and get you that support to recover from it. And you don't really know what you're going to do yourself or where things are going to go. It's the unknown. And then one day, one of the nurses says to me, "Do you want to try wheelchair rugby?"
Brilliant.
And well, you say that, I was like, this has got to be a wind-up. There's no way. I mean, like, I played rugby at school. I was like a tall, lanky second row. I remember playing on Sunday mornings, getting my legs covered in mud and just running around in the rain. It was great fun. But the idea of a wheelchair with this oval-shaped ball, there's no way this could happen. But, the nurses in the spinal unit, they're quite persistent. And they were like, every week coming to just come and have a look at it. Come and have a go at it. And eventually I caved in. We went down to the sports hall, which is probably twice the size of this room, a really small place in the hospital. And these guys were like whizzing around, smashing each other. And I was like, oh my God, man. Looks mad. Looks crazy. But I got into the chair, and I guess the moment that sort of everything changed for me was like that, when you run, you have that feeling of the wind going across your face. I hadn't felt that for about 6 months.
Wow.
And just to feel that again was just so empowering. I didn't care about my disability, didn't care about anything. It was just about that movement and feeling free again for those seconds. And I just enjoyed it. I used to love it. Every Thursday it was about a 20-minute session in hospital. And I used to love every moment of it. And the guy who used to run it was a guy called Bob O'Shea. And he was the captain going out to the Sydney Paralympics for the team. And he said, like, you've got a bit of potential. If you're a fancy, here's a number for your local team. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't really think of it as an option. And a few months later, I came out of hospital. And when you come out of hospital, there's a big influx of people around you. Everyone wants to see you because you've been away for 12 months. And everyone's around you. It's that big sort of, everyone loves you. Everything's sort of like there to make you comfortable. But eventually, people go back to their lives, back to university, back to work. And you find yourself isolated again. And I was like, what am I going to do? And sort of like tried to carry on my career as an engineer. And one day I was just tidying up my room and saw this number, wheelchair rugby, and all these memories came flooding back. And I was like, you know what? I might give this a go. So I ended up going down to the local team in Birmingham at the time. And that's when my journey began. But I didn't start because I wanted to be a Paralympian or be an elite athlete. It was a place I could go to where I was understood. Nobody had any questions. No one was asking me what happened to me. No one was trying to make me walk again. All these things that I was facing outside in the world were just gone. People just understood me and just let me play. And I used to just love it, really.
So you ended up being very good at it, but your point is that wasn't the intention. It was about inclusivity and something you spoke about, Jason, about going to the grassroots. And I guess that's the whole purpose of why we're here today and why we're doing 28 for 28, so that more Mannies can get the opportunity, right? They might not always be as good as you, but so that more of them can get that opportunity.
No, 100%. I think the beauty of the sport is it brings people together. That sense of community is really powerful for us. Mm-hmm. Just being able to have peer support with you and advocates that understand your disability and allow you to just come and enjoy. Sometimes it's not about the rugby, it's just about having a conversation and offloading your problems. That sort of basic element of mental health as well. It's really important. But it allows our members to come in, enjoy a sport, and then play at a competitive level, and then even take it to the highest level if you want to go there.
Absolutely. All the benefits of team sport, things you're familiar with as well, Jason. So,
yeah, definitely. And I think for us as an organisation, in terms of our purpose, it's about using wheelchair rugby to enrich lives and promote positive perceptions of disability. So if that's all we do for individuals, then that's success for us. Now, if people go on to be Paralympians, fantastic. If people go on to officiate, fantastic. If people just have just a regular habit now where they're being active, great. But for us, that sits at the core. If we can enrich lives and promote positive perceptions, that's success for us. Everything else is a bonus.
So look, we're talking about elite sport here ultimately, and as with all elite sport, the fans are important. And the fans are going to make it grow, right? So I guess I'm a super fan of rugby in general. I'm now a super fan of GB Wheelchair Rugby, but probably only on that 4-year time horizon we're talking about. You know, we need more super fans going forward. So, guys, why don't you talk me through super fans you might have come across, or why super fanhood is so important to you at GB Wheelchair Rugby?
Well, I'll give you an example. We've got an old retired couple that comes all the way around the world with us for every single tournament, and it's a real great example of what happens when people see this sport and they just fall in love with it. Because in the age of social media, our social media is doing fantastic. We're the most followed individual disability sport. There's a real opportunity to be able to follow this sport all year round, and the more you can see something, the more you can get into it, the more you can get under the skin. And this is one of those sports, say once you're in the club, you stay in that club for life. And superfans just tell the story for us. We can shout about it all we want, but when you've got people that are there in the stands, people that are following there, people that are commenting, that's the things that actually really sticks with people and says to you, hey, this is actually pretty cool, let me check it out.
So Manny, you've seen superfans from both sides, right? Nowadays you're on the sidelines, but you were on the park, on the pitch for a long time there. How much does it matter to you, or what difference did it make to you as a player and now as a supporter?
Fans are important. They're the reason you train as an athlete all the times you're away from your family, all that sacrifice and for those big games. And when you hear those crowds out there, cheering for your team, it's just like, it's the best thing in the world. And it's so important for us to play, it just gives you that edge. I always refer back to London. It's probably the most passionate crowd. And our first game was against USA, and we're in this tunnel side by side against the US team. And you can hear some background noise. The doors are closed. And, they were trying to get into our players' heads, and, a bit of like conversation across. But I'd played in the US the season before, so they weren't really getting at me. I was kind of friends with a few of them, so it was kind of cool. And all of a sudden, these doors opened up, and this rush of energy and sort of like wind just took you back. The crowd, the noise just went through you. And like the only way I can explain it is like when you're in a club or something and you hear the bass go through your body. That's what the sound was like in this stadium. And as the commentator went, now introducing your teams, Great Britain versus USA, it just roared, absolutely roared. And like as you're pushing through, you could see your friends and family in the crowd and everyone just going wild. And that, for me, that's what fans are about. It was electric. It really was.
Tell me this one thing, because I remember 2012 vividly, and I think for a lot of us in the UK, we were sort of introduced in a way to parasport in general. People became household names because of 2012. Have you seen that growth continue as we sit here now in 2024 and we're doing a campaign for 28 for 28? Have you seen that grow, and how important now is it that fans get further behind and corporates like ourselves get behind you to make sure that the sport keeps growing?
Well, during 2012, in terms of wheelchair rugby clubs, we had around about 10 clubs. Now we're up to 35. So we've definitely grown. We're still a small sport, but we've grown significantly. But there's still a long way to go in terms of equity in society, what have you. But from a parasport following, we had when we won gold at Tokyo, there was over 1 million people watching that game live on TV. So we know people love this sport, and we just need more opportunities to get in front of them.
One gold in Tokyo, is that because you'd retired already, Manny?
Yeah, I did all the work to get us there.
But you won goals. What did you won goals in the European in the world?
I've got 3 European goals, 2 silvers and a bronze.
Wow.
But yeah, for me, it's like sometimes we focus on the medals, but as an athlete, once you've retired, you realise it is the journey. The journey, the people you met around the world, places you've been, the competitions you played in, and there's the things you remember, is the most important.
So it all sounds very exciting. What lies ahead for GB Wheelchair Rugby in 2025, Jason?
Well, it's really all change right now. So we've come to the end of our 3-year strategy, which is starting just after the Tokyo Paralympics. And we now actually have a true 4-year running into LA 2028 now as well. So we're relaunching our new strategy, which is all about really just trying to transform every element of the sport and really align the sport. I talked about that growth that we had, over the last 10, 12 years. And what that's kind of created is, so many opportunities, but we need to just line those up now so everything's really coherent and everyone can drive forward together. So it's really exciting now, and I think, you know, having partners like yourselves on board allows us to do some more of those things. So whether it's that's improving the standard of our domestic and amateur competition, whether that's improving our live streaming capabilities, whether that's actually just being able to send our team and our athletes to more tournaments around the world, all these exciting things that we want to do, partnerships allow us to do it. So, I mean, yeah, watch this space.
Sounds thrilling. Manny, anything to add on that? What you're looking forward to in the years ahead and the road up to LA 28?
Yeah, I think for us, the sport doesn't really stop. We've got obviously our domestic competitions that are going on right now. We've got the Women's Cup coming up in December. The big push for the next 4 years is obviously building up to the LA Paralympics in 2028. But we work in 4-year cycles. So next year will be the European Championships, which will allow us to qualify for the World Championships. And after that, again, it's the European Championships, then to qualify for the Paralympics. And we want to be in the best shape we can be running into those games. And that really involves working on our grassroots, on our talent teams, on our women's teams to make sure we've got the best athletes that can be selected. And that's where partnerships are really important, so we can really go out and reach more people and have those elements of that are missing, those gaps to be filled to give everyone the best opportunities. So,
Jason, you're a humble chap, but you were a former professional athlete in the NFL.
For me, one reason I'm so passionate about this sport is getting into American football fundamentally changed the trajectory of my life. I started when I was 17 years old. It was the first really organised sport I'd gotten into, and it taught me how to be a leader. It showed me that I was able to achieve things I didn't think I could achieve. It enabled me to travel the world. So I know that there's so many people out there that they don't know what next opportunity could potentially change their lives. So for me, it's, and when you look at disability sport as well, and some individuals who, may not have the access, or, even been that sporty before, but suddenly you find something, you never know what it could do. So, yeah, I mean, from an elite side, I just love sport, and with it being a contact collision sport, I was locked in as soon as I heard about this opportunity.
So we're back to the inclusivity point again, but tell me this, what's it like being a CEO? Tough, innit? Don't tell them it's easy. Don't tell them it's easy now. I've been telling them for years it's difficult.
No, it is tough. I mean, it's great. I mean, I love the responsibility. I'm old to be able to say, hey, if I need to put something on my back, I'll put it on. But I think it's great. We've got such a great team. And when you've got great people around you who are really passionate about the cause, it does make your job a lot easier because you've got people that want to run with it. But, you've got to wear a lot of different hats. Sometimes wearing the elite hat. Sometimes wearing the corporate partnership hat. Sometimes wearing the governance and compliance hat. So, depending on the day, depending on what hats you wear, but I love it. I love the responsibility and I love the challenge.
Sometimes a TV star hat. How's he getting on, Manny?
Really well. I've worked closely with Jason now for a few months. But yeah, it changed the sport, and I think he's starting to put his stamp on it now. And that's the important thing with the 4-year cycle is the new CEO comes in and then, takes us to the next level. That's the important thing. And I think Jason's slightly starting to show his colours and started to put his stamp on the sport.
Brilliant. So look, we talk about the next level, and I think the next level is completing this 28 for 28 and getting us all the way to LA 28. So shameless plug, chaps, right? If there's corporates watching this, if there's partners of LMAX Group, what are you saying to them?
You need to come on board for 28 for 28. This is a sport that looks like no other. There's nothing else out there that looks like wheelchair rugby. And you've got an opportunity to be around some incredible other partners, some people that are really passionate about EDI, passionate about disability, and passionate about elite sports. So, come and be part of this crew.
Yeah, it's hard hitting, it's fast, it's furious. It's everything you love about team sport. And I think, when you first see it, you try and get over the fact that people in wheelchairs are smashing each other around. But once you're past that, you see the elements of the sport and the tactical side of the sport that brings it to life. And I think it's such a great vehicle to break down disability barriers and get people talking.
Finish what they said. What I would say, if you're watching, if you're partners of LMAX Group, get involved. There's space still available. Lucky enough, still available 28 for 28. I've got to tell you, there won't be space 32 for 32 because this sport with these two guys at the helm is going to go to the moon. So please, if you can, get involved. You will not regret it for 1 second.